Now on to business. Let's talk how to grow your sales. As mentioned, I'm Erin. I'm your Member Services and Solutions Manager, and with me is Jessica, who is your Trade Show and Events Manager. She'll take over after Daryl is done and handle all the questions. Just a few housekeeping items. Everyone is muted, so if you have any questions, please use the chat icon at the bottom of your screen and type in your questions during the webinar. Both myself and Jess will monitor the questions and facilitate them at the end with Daryl. Finally, slides will be sent out and will also be posted to our website. So who's presenting today's webinar? Well, that would be Daryl Boyko. Dominate Selling Systems Workshop is the trading arm of Boyko Innovations, a product and service representative agency founded in 2014 by Daryl Boyko. Boyko Innovations has partnered with Manitoba, national and global companies for the past 6 years to solve this one problem. Too few customers, too few sales, sale lead services, contract services, private workshops have been the catalyst for new clients, new sales growth, and profitable businesses. The Boyko Innovations team consists of the sales lead department and local facilitators of the Dominant Selling Workshops. Their work has been responsible for over $25 million of Manitoba export revenue through various companies, services, and products. The team is a key sales partner for notable local Manitoba companies and has helped to secure relationships with world-class multinational Fortune 500 company. His website is dominantselling.com. All right, Daryl, take it from here and tell us about how we can take control and grow our sales.
Right. Thanks, Erin. Good introduction. I'm going to all right, let's see here. We got desktop 2. And how's that?
You are good to go.
All right, perfect. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, How to Control Your Business and Grow Sales, specifically 7 steps to transform your sales team and grow your business. If you want to become a high-performing sales team or become a better sales leader, this webinar is absolutely for you. There's a lot of reasons why you would want to grow your business, why you'd want to become a better sales leader. If you're the owner of a business and you want to grow your company through relationship selling of key accounts, or you want to increase the amount of revenue per customer that's coming into your store. If you are a sales leader and you're responsible for your team's productivity, their efficiency, and their results, whatever the reason, the reality is that nothing happens in business, as we all know, until someone sells something. So if you can grow sales through a sales team and make the results, and this is key, make the results repeatable, transferable, and you can continue to improve, you will have a successful business or a successful sales career. One of the best ways to grow your sales team is by using a selling system. And we have all types of organizations that reach out to us because they have this one thing in common: their system is broken or it's non-existent within their sales operation. And that's all types of companies, all sizes, from tech and software companies to transportation, to retail, logistics, financial services, and government. For example, they come to us and they want their team performing, their sales team performing at a high level, and they want them doing it consistently. And these people know that how you sell is often more important than what you sell. Right? How you sell gives you a competitive advantage in the marketplace. And, for example, how many times have you walked into a retail store to be greeted by a salesperson and they've come up to you and asked the standard question, hey, what can I help you with? Hey, are you looking for anything in particular? And after you turn them down and you say no, You go on through the store, find what you're looking for, and you meet them at the till, and they simply process the transaction. Or you've gone to a restaurant and a server is asked, what would you like? They haven't added any value to your experience. They haven't made suggestions. They haven't followed a process to make your experience better and to grow their sales. How you sell gives you a distinct competitive advantage in the marketplace. So if you're going to have a team that sells at a high performing level, a team that's unified, and you're going to be able to train new associates that come onto your team within a system to get them selling faster and realizing success sooner and increasing your retention of good people because they're happy working with you, you're going to do that because you have a selling system. Okay. If that all sounds good to you, then you're going to enjoy today's webinar. We are going to be specifically talking about your selling process. And what I mean by your process is the actual stages and steps that your sales team goes through to take leads or potential customers through to referrals. So you're going to want to do everything with your potential customers through a sales process. You want to avoid ad hoc activities. You want to avoid trying to sell on intuition or what you think. You're going to want to avoid situations where you have a team of one person that is a high performance seller, and then you've got a handful of people that are average sellers that are below their budget, and then you've got some poor performers. Those types of dynamics are unhealthy. You want a unified team to sell using a sales process. So by the end of this webinar, you will absolutely have practical tools that you can use to align your sales team to perform at a high level. When they're performing at a high level, that's going to help gain competitive advantage in the marketplace and grow your business. So before we get going, think about the last time you interacted with a salesperson. How did you feel about that experience? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? Was there something they could have improved on? If you think about the experiences that you had and take the next 45 minutes to learn about how to implement and get your team to use your sales process, then you're going to get excited. Your team can improve, right? We're not fixed. Sales isn't about a person having a certain ability. It's a skill that can be learned. So if your team is going to be improving as sales professionals and performing at a high level, your customers are consistently going to be receiving a high satisfaction experience. That's going to keep them coming back, and that's going to keep your business growing. If you want your team to consistently perform at a high level, you must have them sell using a process. Okay? Too many organizations depend on personality. Or they depend on salespeople that have contacts, or they depend on the tenure of the salesperson. And the problem with depending on those things is that none of it can be replicated, right? If you are depending on your sales growth on a single person, then two things have to take place. Number one, they have to be performing. And number two, they have to be with you. And those things aren't replicatable. It's not a healthy environment for other salespeople that are there, for your team, and for growth. I'm going to share with you 7 steps to mapping out your selling process. And at the end of the sales process, I'm going to show you what a mapped out process looks like and the steps that you need to take to walk your team through the development of your selling process. And I think you'll agree that the process is going to create transparency, it'll create accountability, and it's going to make your team better and will help you grow your business. Selling is a process, not an event, and your team can learn it. All right. We talked about that. If you have a team of good salespeople, they can be better. If you have a team of great salespeople, then there's a lot that the entire team can learn from. But the operative word is we're a team. If you're like most organizations, you've got a few salespeople that are doing well, a higher number of people that are not doing so well, and a few absolutely poor performers, and no solution for that. The good news is that everything about selling is a learnable skill. I remember one of my first sales jobs, my first telemarketing sales job back, when I was 20 something years old, and we were selling web pages. So that was like 20 years ago. We were selling web pages back before, when AOL, when you had a disk that you had to load up in the computer to get AOL on there. And I was struggling selling the web pages. And my sales manager, I was blessed to have a great sales manager, took me off the phone and said, Daryl, let me show you something. And he stood up and he got into a putting position, like a golf putting position. And he said, listen, he said, sales is like golf. Right? If you're putting and you pull the ball a little bit too far to the right or left of the hole, all you do is you look at the steps, you adjust your stance, you look at how straight your arm, you look at your grip, take your practice. And he went through a list of steps that when you're approaching the ball that you want to go through when you're golfing. And what he said to me, he said, sales is like golf. It's a repeatable event. It's a skill that everyone can learn. And if you have a bad outcome, you can go back to the process and then you can figure out what in that process needs to change so you can get the outcome that you want. Hey, there's a neuroscientist called Angela Duckworth. She's a CEO. She's written a ton of great books. Her last book called Grit was absolutely fantastic. And what the book had what was in the book was a study of two student groups. One was a high performing group that it was pounded into them that they need to focus on the outcome. You've got to get good grades. You've got to win, right? And it was all about the outcome. And there was a lot of pressure and a lot of stakes, but they believed that these students could rise to the occasion. And then there was another group that they didn't talk about the stakes. They knew they needed to perform, but what they talked about and what they focused on learning were all the steps that needed to go into achieving the result that they wanted, which was a grade that was improved over the previous term. So two groups being taught different ways, one outcome driven, one process driven. And here's the results of this. Here's the results of the story. The group that focused just on results scored higher than the group that focused on the process. All right. However, what they did was they asked the groups who wants to challenge for another test that's going to provide another set of benefits and incentives that they had laid out besides just the grade. And it was something like 90% of the group that was just hammered in about the outcome and the end result. 90% of them did not want to challenge the next test. They didn't want to take the challenge. And 90% of the students that were focused on the process, focused on how to win, and focused on the things they needed to do to get the best outcome, 90% of them wanted to challenge and take things to the next level. Okay, so to perform consistently at a high level within sales, we need to sell within a process. So by the end of this webinar, you are going to know how to lead your team through establishing a sales process so everyone on your team can be aligned, can perform at a high level, do it consistently, and grow your business. Selling process development step number one. You want to start by developing a project charter. All right, so you get your team together. And what's a project charter? It's a tool that we're going to use to define our objective, our scope of the project, our team. It's a document that is going to provide focus for your team when you bring them together and help them stay on task. So it's like the difference between sunlight and a laser beam. When I go outside and I'm in a clear sky, blue sky, and I'm at the beach and the sun's coming down on me, I get a little bit of a suntan, right? I get a little bit darker from the sun beating down on me. But if I was to take that sun ray and focus it through a magnifying glass and focus that magnifying glass so the sun rays coming right through it, that ray is going to get focused into a laser beam. A ray, it's a beam, not laser, but it's beam. It's going to be focused light, and it's going to be able to burn through or create some smoke on some dirt on the ground, or if I hold it long enough and I get enough sunlight, it's going to be able to burn through a piece of wood. And that's the difference between general goals and being very specific and focused. A project charter will help you focus your team to stay on task when you get them together. So let me give you an example of a project charter. It's October right now. We've had everybody's had a year of unexpected situations, and let's say hypothetically, which is not far off, our sales targets are all, and our sales results are all out of whack compared to our targets. So I'm going to meet with my leadership team. We're going to determine that, hey, next year we need to increase our sales by another 20% over what the original goals were going to be to make up for this year. So increasing your goal, increasing your sales results by 20% now becomes the project charter focus. That becomes the clear focus. How we do that? Well, the first step is that we're going to need to go to the sales process and find where is the sales process broken, where are there inefficiencies, where is there tons of unproductivity, resources being managed poorly, what's going on in the sales process, so we can fix those and move further and closer towards an extra 20% increase. But it all starts, you gotta look at your process first. So many sales managers, sales leaders, or owners, they just simply go to the salespeople, say, this is the new sales goal, and now all of a sudden they have an expectation that salespeople are magically going to find the revenue. Right? No, you need to empower your team by mapping out the sales process, and everyone can come together, as you'll see here in a minute, and come up with solutions so that you can hit your goal. Okay, so first step is to develop a project charter. The second thing that we want to do, the second step, is we want to map out the major selling stages. Okay, so how I would recommend you do this is simply you take sticky notes, a single color, a unique color for all the steps that we're going to go through today, and maybe your major selling stages is orange. Okay. You want to have 4 to 6 major selling stages that you're mapping out with your team, okay? And you're asking your team, hey, what are your major selling stages? And how do we figure out what the major selling stages are? Well, there's 4 to 6 major stages that take your prospects and potential customers from leads to referrals. We could summarize it in 6. Let me give you an example. If I was reserving a car at the airport, the website might tell me, number 1, reserve your car. Number 2, drop your car off. Number 3, enjoy your flight. And number 4, pick up your car when your plane arrives. So in that example, for reserving a car, there's 4 major stages. Now, the only things that you need to do when you're reserving a car? No, you've got to get your credit card information. You've got to know where the the carport is from your house, relative to the airport. And do you need to catch a shuttle bus from the garage to the airport? There's all these little details. Those are the steps within each stage, but there are 4 to 6 major stages with converting prospects all the way to earning referrals. And that's what you want to map out and have your team tell you what their major stages are within the process that they're using. Now, everybody's using a process. They may not have given it much thought. Your salespeople might be holding the process to themselves because they're in a competitive situation and they don't want someone else to know. But you've got a team, and it's time for everybody to collaborate and share best practices and drain the information from these salespeople that are succeeding. So you've got the knowledge transfer and you're building infrastructure within your organization, right? So if someone decides to leave, you've got that infrastructure. Now, on the flip side, if you're a salesperson and you're a part of this exercise, you're going to be learning best practices that other salespeople are using to win, and you're going to be able to take these and improve your results in your job. If you move on to different careers, you're going to be able to have this information, and it's going to help you become even more successful. So it's absolutely a win-win to go through this. But what I see so often is that organizations allow good salespeople to leave without getting the knowledge transfer. And they never ask for it because they're afraid that, I'm micromanaging. They're afraid that they're, too much pressure because they're asking for accountability. How do you build a great team without accountability? All right, so the first thing or the second thing that we're going to do here is we're going to get out from everybody, out of their brains, onto these paper sticky notes, what is the major stages of their selling process, 4 to 6 of them. All right, so this is the second step to getting your team to performing at a high level. Let's go on to number 3. Third step, we want to map out all of the minor selling steps so we get a different color sticky. And we want to look at 25 to 40 steps for each one of those stages. All right, and here's an example. Let's say I'm in, we'll do two of them. Let's say I am going out to meet a prospect, right? I've booked an appointment, I'm going out to meet them. My first step within the discovery stage could be introduction. My second state or greeting, my second step could be to thank them for making the time. My third step could be to clear the amount of time that they've booked to make available for us to meet. My fourth step could be reviewing the agenda to make sure we're all on the same page. My fifth step could look like asking them some specific questions that I've prepared in advance that is going to help me understand what it is that the volume that they use, what their budget is, who's making the decisions. I might have that for my sixth step. My seventh step could be to try to ask questions to find gaps in pain from where they currently are to where they want to achieve. Okay, so the point is that you have steps within your discovery stage of your selling process. Now, there might be salespeople that are using different steps. Well, are they successful or are they struggling? If they're successful, maybe we look at everybody aligning to this. If it's good for one person, it'll be good for everybody. If someone's not having success, that's going to come through and we're going to be able to identify it by the steps that they're taking within their selling stage. All right. Let's use a retail example. If I have someone that walks in, let's say my first step for approaching is to greet them. My second step is to find something to sincerely compliment them on. My third step is to ask them is to build social rapport. And maybe maybe I have a list of social rapport questions asking them, do they live in the area? Are they from out of town? Are they, how has it been working from home during the whatever relevant questions you might come up with. But that step 3 could be my social rapport. The point is that if I'm getting positive outcomes, people are buying, salespeople are making sales, there are repeatable steps within each stage that they're intuitively guiding prospects and future customers through. And we want to get that intuition out, and we want to get it into conscious information. Okay, so step 3 is all about mapping out the minor selling steps that are within the major stages. And it's going to be about 25 to 40 steps. And you're going to do this in a different color. This is the third step to mapping out your process and getting your team performing at a high level. Now, there's going to be all kinds of issues, and we need to list them. There's going to be people that are struggling at certain points within the sales process. There's going to be people that we don't even understand why they're doing what they're doing within the sales process. And those are all issues. If there's anything going on in the selling steps that are being mapped out that is unproductive, that's not efficient, that's not managing resources well, that's not utilizing time well, all of those are issues. Any roadblocks to preventing the sales, we bring them up now. And this is a time for everybody to just get out the stuff that they've been holding on to for probably a long time, because it's rare that any companies allow this platform for people to get it out of their system. Okay, so you want to provide this time to go through their issues. So you're going to get a different color, and you're going to do what's called root causing the problem. A simple way to do that is 5 whys. And the theory in quality management on 5 whys is by the time you ask a question 5 times, you've pretty much got the root of the problem. We're not interested in solving surface problems. We want a sustainable solution. We want a solution that is transferable, that can be repeated, right? And that we can continuously improve on. So we want to get to the root of the issue. So let's say, let me give you a real example. I was guiding a client through this process, and we were in the prospecting stage, mapping out all of the steps. And the time between the 3rd contact and the 4th contact was 4 months. Now, this was a seasonal company. This was a distribution company, distributed air conditioners, and it's so seasonal. And there was a 3 or 4 month gap between, between two process steps. And it wasn't until it was mapped out, because this business unit was in Saskatchewan and the owner was in Manitoba, and they had great sales. So there was never any reason to bring any of this up. But when the owner made the decision, he wanted to align his team on the same sales process so he can expand into BC, and he would have a system and a process in place. We went there, we were going through the exercise and found a 3 to 4 month gap between sales steps. And no one had asked the question. And the only reason why was, as we root caused it, and we said, why is it taking 4 months for the next contact? And the reason is, well, because they're not calling us back. Well, why are they not calling us back? And then we just continue to root cause it. Well, they're not calling us back because we haven't given them a reason to call back. Well, why haven't we given us a reason for them to call back? Well, we haven't given them a reason because we have so many prospects in the CRM that we're supposed to reach, that we kind of, after we get to 3 or 4, we leave it, and then we go take on someone new and try to get them in the top of the funnel so we can check off a box that we're measured on. Going through that 5 whys helped realize that what they needed, well, we'll get to it in a minute, but that exercise helped identify an issue that was wasting all kinds of time, and it was highly inefficient, and that they were using and nobody knew about. So when we're going through to root cause of problems, we want to make sure that we're only stating things in a problem. Okay, it's really common that you've got 2 types of people that are in a meeting. You've got people that are jumping to solutions, and you got people that are jumping to conclusions. And we don't want any of that. So you want to just be present with whatever the problem is, make it a safe environment for people to just say, these are the issues that I'm having, and you're going to list them off. You're going to go through each step that you have listed out, that 25 to 40 in those sales steps. And you're going to look at issues in each one of those. Okay. Every step, there's likely an issue. Okay. And we want to invite, what's preventing us from being more efficient? What's preventing us from being more effective? What's preventing us from converting quicker? What's preventing us from increasing the amount of sales per person walking in our store? Those are types of questions as a leader you can ask to prompt some of the problems that are in issues that are really occurring that people might not feel comfortable voicing up front. So this is the 4th step of getting your selling team to perform at a high level with the process. It's listing your issues. All right, well, we can't sit in the problem for too long without, someone jumping to solutions. So we want to quickly go, after we've listed all the problems, all the issues, we want to move to find solutions for each one of those problems. So we're going to go to another sticky note. We're going to make sure that the team understands it's a safe environment, that no idea is a bad idea. We want to allow people to brainstorm and be creative. There's all kinds of psychological studies, and there's 2 types of people, generally speaking, that are in every meeting. There's creative people and critical people. And both are important, and either one of them aren't bad. They're both needed, okay? Critical people often prevent the creative people from doing things that's going to take the business off into a ditch. Right? But creative people help continue that business to continue to innovate. So both are needed. But in this step 5 of listing your solutions, we want creativity. We want people to be creative and just brainstorm on solutions for each problem that was identified. Now, if you're the leader and you suspect a solution that is going to help solve a problem, you might guide the conversation in a certain direction. But if you're bamboozled, you don't know what a solution to a problem, this is a time that you can separate yourself as an employer, because you have very capable people that you hired. Rarely does anyone show up every day intending to do a bad job. But not enough people get asked their opinion on how to make the company better. And this step is creating that environment to now start pulling from them solutions. The people that are on the front line in sales, the people that are actually interacting with the customers, getting information and ideas and concepts with them to make your company better is so underrated, and it's so appreciated. And that's what this step is all about. You're going to be asking for solutions for every step within that stage that we're looking at. Every solution matches up to a problem. Okay, we do not move to another problem until we have a solution. We got to find a solution. Okay, so we want creativity. We want this to be a safe environment. You need to set the terms up front that no idea is a bad idea. Okay, we want to be solution oriented and find a solution to every problem. And that's step 5 of getting your team to sell and perform at a high level. All right, now this is magic here. Step 6, we're gonna take all those solutions, okay, and we're gonna value graph those solutions. Now, what's a value graph? A value graph is 4 quadrants that all have, are represented with the title. I'll explain in a minute. But you've got vertical axis is has a certain measurement. Horizontal axis has a certain measurement, and it produces a certain type of value. And you're going to put all of the solutions in one of those quadrants, okay? Once all the solutions are mapped out, quadrant 1 is you're not gonna do it, you're just gonna park that idea, okay? And that's that quadrant is basically something that's gonna take a lot of effort to solve the problem that you identified, and it's low value. So you got effort and you got value on the axis. So you're gonna park those ideas. You're gonna ask the team, hey, is this high effort or low value? And they say yes, it's gonna go in that quadrant number 1. Quadrant number 2 is gonna be your strategic quadrant. So you're gonna take all the solutions, and as you're going through them, there's gonna be some that they require a lot of effort, but man, they're good value. Maybe that's developing a standard operating procedure, okay? And that needs to be managed because it connects to different departments. Maybe it's a piece of software that isn't terribly expensive, but it's certainly not in the budget right now. Maybe that's some maybe that's some year-long sales training, right? That you just want to have that training every month, and that's high value. But there's effort to get everybody together to budget for that. So it gets parked in the strategic quadrant number 2. Hey, these are often owned by the department. So if I'm a sales leader, I'm responsible for it, and I'll likely delegate certain tasks to people for completion. But I can get this done within 90 days. Strategic quadrant can get done within 90 days. Okay. The third quadrant are gems. These are beautiful. These are solutions that you're finding that your team has developed that you realize, wait a second, it's low effort and there is a ton of value. And maybe that's something as simple as if I'm in sales and I'm going to see my sales, I'm going to see my customers or my prospects. Maybe it's something as simple as just redefining my territory and making sure that I cluster my appointments. It's a little bit of effort, okay? The territory's got to get broken up, but I can be more productive rather than driving to one end of the city and then the other and then the other. Or if I'm traveling across provincial borders, I'm making sure that I've got key companies that I want to go see. But it's a little bit of effort, but man, there's a ton of value when you get there and you're executing. So low effort and high value, these are gems. These are assigned to individuals to get done, and they're generally completed within 30 days. Those are gems. So we absolutely want to execute on gems. And the fourth quadrant, quick hits. Those are low effort, low value. Low effort, low value. Quick hits, these are assigned to individuals. They're completed within a couple of weeks. So low effort, low value might be I just need to sign up for a CRM, right? It's not expensive. It doesn't take long. It's not going to help me sell, but one of the stages it was identified that information that I was taking time trying to get my Excel documents together, and it was just taking too much time. So if I sign up for a $10 CRM, pretty quick, I can get this done. It's inexpensive. That could be an example of a quick hit. Okay, so you're going to value graph each one of the solutions so that it can then be assigned to the team to complete, and you simply project manage it. Everyone gets an item. Everyone's responsible for items. There's a timeline that it's completed, and there's a column that you would just put notes on. And this sheet that has all of the items that you're delegating is reviewed in all of your management meetings. your sales team meetings. It's reviewed. How are we doing? It's got deadlines. Anything I need to help you out with, any roadblocks you need to remove. So then you just project manage this being completed. Okay. So it's not you doing all the work as the sales leader. It's you empowering your team to be successful, to do the work. Okay. And everybody's assigned a role and responsibility to make this better. We're a team. We're all rowing our oars in the same direction. Okay. But I'm managing it through to completion. Okay. Let me show you a little quick case study. This is an example of a stage that I was guiding one of my clients to, we were going through this process and we were guiding them through to mapping it out. So the yellow stickies at the top are all the steps. I think this was the quoting stage it was the quoting stage. So it involved other departments, engineering, other team members. So there was a lot of complexity, a lot of inefficiency, duplicate work. It was highly unproductive. So the yellow is all of the steps mapped out. The purple are all of the issues. And when you've got teams around the table that are representing other departments that are involved within the sales, that are involved with the sales team, and integrated with the sales team, they'll have issues that they'll bring up. It won't just be the salespeople, but we want to make the process better for everyone. So the purple were all the issues. The green, fluorescent green stickies were all the solutions that they came up with. So what they did was they took all the solutions, and that right there is a value graph, and they parked everything, anything that were gems. Let me see if we get a better look here. There we go. So anything that were gems, they implemented right away. Anything that needed to be parked stayed there. And then they assigned everything to the team for completion. Okay, so again, it was the sales leader making the time available to walk the team through mapping out the sales process. And the key and why you want to do this is because you want results that are able to be replicated with an individual salesperson and other salespeople. You want knowledge transferred. So as someone starts getting a better outcome, you want to find out what they're doing and go back to the sales process and find out, what do we need to improve on? What issues are we having? Why is this person getting a better outcome? And if we need to improve the sales process, you've got a document to be able to improve it and add those nuances and maybe in context to market conditions, there's things that need to be changed, but you don't want one person succeeding. You want your entire team to be successful. So you want those results replicated. You want the knowledge transfer between salespeople, so everybody's utilizing best practices, and you always want to have a baseline for everybody to improve on. So it may seem like a lot of work. We've got to go identify the process before we can start getting into solutions. But here's the thing, if you don't do that, then you don't create you don't have a part of a system where everybody can go back and contribute, help it become better, and a project management framework where other people are coming up with the solutions and you're managing them to completion. If we just jump to solutions, then one person is going to benefit, and this is all about the team winning together. All right, so when you implement these 7 steps, you're going to be able to replicate results. You're going to be able to get the knowledge from other salespeople, and you're going to always have a process to continuously improve your selling process. And when that happens, your team's going to perform at a high level, and they're going to be a whole lot happier because you're not going to be pointing at them, right? Like this team, like that example. The students that were just focused on the results, you're going to be able to focus where in the process is broken. What do we need to fix in the process so that our team can win. And it's a collaborative exercise and everybody wins together. So if you have any questions, if you want to reach out to me to talk about a problem that you're having, or you want to find out how I can help you guide your team through these exercises to get a system institutionalized in your organization, so we're not doing everything by intuition, it's actually documentation that's being used and it's effective, you can reach out to me on my online calendar. If you have any questions, feel free to go to Dominate Selling. You can reach out to me there as well. But if you use these 7 steps that I've talked about, you will have a team that's performing consistently at a high level, and new people that come onto your team that are able to perform at a high level faster than if you left them to do it on their own abilities. I've enjoyed being with you. Thank you for your attention on Teachable Tuesday today, and I'll hang around for any questions you'd like to ask.
Thank you so much, Darryl. That was amazing. Actually, Erin is in the office with me, and we kept pointing to the screen when you were talking. We're like, yes, we have those problems sometimes, and oh, I totally get it. And we thought there were some excellent gems in it, and I just want to thank you so much for your time today. Your enthusiasm is definitely contagious, because both Erin and I we were cheering along with you. We're like, it's amazing how relatable that is, probably no matter what industry you're in. Absolutely. So we just want to remind everybody that if you have questions, there's a chat button, and Erin is currently monitoring it, so please ask some questions. And this is being recorded, so anybody who has to step out, the recording is going to be available afterwards, and we're going to send it out. So the first question I had was, actually, I'm going to go back. You talked a little bit about knowledge transfer, and with sometimes high turnover in sales teams, how do you recommend this process when you're getting departures and then you're onboarding people and you're having perhaps higher turnover of sales teams, and doing this process, like how often with new sales teams?
Yeah, great question. So first of all, it's always hardest to get started, right? That's where the big effort comes in, is to actually get this documented. Once you have your sales, your selling system in place, specifically your sales process, then you're going to find that there's going to be people that are coming in from other sales. They're going to have other sales experience, and maybe they're able to show you something or show the team something new that they've been missing, right? Sometimes you're so close to the forest, you don't see the trees, and that's beautiful. If they're doing something that's working, or they have some suggestions, you can always pilot it, right? And if it's proven to get results, then you can implement it into the entire system, right? It's just like marketing. You wouldn't just change your marketing strategy without having data. Right. You would look, you have A/B marketing initiatives, right? And you look to see, well, what's getting the results? And then if that's getting the results, you can go back and say, well, what's the possibility of this being replicated through, our entire campaign? That's the same thing with salespeople that come on that maybe have some experience. But at first, you need to align everybody to the way the organization does it. It doesn't help if one person's succeeding and then you've got 5 other salespeople that aren't. So aligning to the system is so important. The organization is going to get ahead a lot faster when everybody's rowing in the same direction. No different than a sports team, right? You might have one person that thinks that they can score all the goals on their own, but it doesn't help if it's not within the structure of a team winning the championship. Right.
That was actually another question I had, which was about high performers, which is the philosophy that somehow they'll inspire lower performers. And is that sort of a myth that would happen, or does it just, they're not going to be inspiring the rest of the team, and rewarding them is not demonstrating anything more, it's just bringing the rest of them down? Or
so there were kind of a couple questions within that question. Yes. Let me ask you. Great question. Let me answer question 1. So, can a high performer inspire a poor performer? In my experience, poor performance is a choice, right? There's a sales saying that even a blind squirrel can find an acorn, right? And so sales has to do with effort. It has to do with energy. And for sure, it has to do with having some knowledge. But if someone's in the game and they're willing to work, they're willing to do the activities. And it's important to have expectations. If you don't have expectations, activity expectations, which are leading indicators of sales, then you need to start there before you label anyone as a poor performer.
Okay.
You need to give them an opportunity to do the work. Once you're convinced someone's willing to do the work, you can help them learn. And sometimes learning from a high performer is the best thing. If they're being willing to do the work, you can download that information from that high performer and everybody can benefit. So that's the part two. A high performer is not demotivating. It's only demotivating if I don't have access. Well, what are they doing that's working?
Right.
How are they being successful? I want to know too. I want to be successful. And if I'm stingy with my information and I'm hoarding it and I don't want you to win too, well, then that creates unhealthy team dynamics. Right.
Okay.
But if someone's doing something well, let's praise them. Let's celebrate it. Let's reward them. But then the next question is, how can we all level up our game with what they're doing well too? And they should be wanting to help the team do that.
Okay. I have a question which is more probably relatable right now, which is with COVID, obviously, we have a lot of teams that are working remotely or on their own and maybe can't come into offices or can't have that team feeling. So what kind of tips would you give for sort of the remote workers and the people that are working from home right now, but are on sales teams on how to function as a team?
Yeah, so functioning as a team in separate places, I think whether you're separate or you're together, you're functioning on a team if you're doing your job, right? We all have responsibilities. We all have things that we need to do. And my team holds me accountable to do what I say I'm going to do because we know that's going to help the team out. So as a manager, having expectations for your team and being the type of manager that's there to remove roadblocks, assuming everybody's coming and showing up every day to do the best job that they can do, having expectations and finding out how to help them remove those roadblocks I'm giving you a philosophical answer because the actual steps to do that'd be another webinar.
Yeah.
But philosophically speaking, that's the framework that you're coming in to perform. Here's the expectations. If you're not hitting these expectations by midweek, Jessica, I'm assuming you're telling me you're going to come and you're going to tell me. Otherwise, I'm assuming you're going to get there. And if you're coming, I'm going to remove roadblocks so you can get there. And I also understand what problems you're experiencing. And if something continues to happen over and over, I want to pull the whole team together virtually and say, I'm noticing this between all the sales team members. Here's where in the process is that you map it out again, you identify the problem, and let's brainstorm some solutions for it. And you go back to the basics of mapping out where the problem is happening. But to answer your question, everybody's responsible for their work, and we need expectations. We need to be held accountable to it in a healthy way.
Right. That's a great answer. So when you're developing your selling process, who is part of the team? How do you define who's going to be part of the team that develops that process?
Yeah. So you got your sales manager. You have any sales administrator. You want to have someone from every department that integrates with the sales team. Finance, they integrate with the sales team, right? Operations or distribution, whoever's delivering the product, because a salesperson might not think something's broken and inefficient, but if they're not following a process and they're screwing up delivery, then that's going to affect operations, right? And right. And why that's relevant is because it comes down to customer experience. At the end of the day, the customer is paying for value that they're receiving, and they're voting for that value with their dollars. So I would have a representative from every department, a part of this session that interacts with sales.
So it's a really holistic, like nobody's going to get excluded from this process because we're overused phrase, we're all in it together, but
For sure.
it's all part of the success of the organization.
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a lot of serendipities that come with having, cross-functional teams, as you know.
So you've given a lot of steps. Do you think that it's best for a team to do the process all at once or by stages, or how, or is it whoever, like, is it the base team based, or how would you recommend tackling something like this?
Yeah, great question. In quality management, the guidelines are, if something happens that is affecting the customer that's really critical, right? We could lose a customer and it's highly critical. We need to give attention to that. If something is happening frequently and it's high volume, we need to give attention to that, because we can't give attention to everything. So critical or high volume.
Yeah.
And so I would use that as the guideline and determine where in the selling process, which stage that falls in, and start there. And that way you're going to get your biggest bang for your buck. Hey, it's time, effort, energy, and resources to pull a team together to go through this. You want to be able to maximize your return on investment. So I would start there. One stage that is either critical, there's problems happening, or there's a lot of problems happening often.
Yeah. I have another question. You mentioned a book called Grit. They wanted to know, who was the author, and did that author or book inspire you with your steps?
Thanks for asking that. The author is Angela Duckworth.
Okay.
And, it was absolutely inspirational. I had subscribed to the idea of a process, 20 years ago when, with the story that I had shared with you. And it's always what kept sales motivating to me and exciting, because when you do the steps and it's working and you're doing them consistently, it's like, if anyone's seen the movie The Matrix, when you like move, you're like moving around, you see things in slow motion. That's how selling is. And there's some other benefits that happen when you do that, is you're able to focus more. I love The Matrix too. You're able to focus more on the customer and the prospect and what they're saying, because you're not so concerned about what you've got to accomplish, what you've got to do, right? So that's something I don't think is talked enough about. But when you repeat something so often, it becomes part of, you do it by habit. And when you've got the habit, your process, you're able to give a lot of attention, and people feel that, and you'll win you'll win deals and opportunities and sales just because people feel that connection with you over someone else. And that's because you're present. And if you've got your process mapped out, which I have, and which you can too, then you can give attention to people.
That's great. Well, I think that's it for questions we've had today. So I want to thank you again and let everyone know this has been recorded. Our next webinars are coming up next week. We have back-to-back webinars with our friends over at Shopify on October 13th and 14th. After this, I'm going to follow up with the link to everybody. And I'll also forward Darrell's information to everybody. As he said, he's available for a 50-minute consultation. He has his calendar available, and we'll send you the links to the Shopify. Darrell, thank you so much. Like I said, Erin and I